Hey, Brian Sullivan, founder of Precise Selling with your weekly video tip. Now, just yesterday, my 14-year-old daughter came running into the kitchen and she yelled, "Man, I'm so excited. I just found out about my freshman class schedule. I can't wait to mask up and get back to class." All right, I threw in the masked up part. But my first reaction was, "Hey, honey, that sounds great." Of course, my second reaction was, is she really excited to get back to school? Of course, after being off since March. Well, I wasn't going to stifle her enthusiasm, but it made me think a little bit more about it. And what I mean is, what is about this strange 2020 in the beginning of the school year that is making these kids actually re-energized? They're sort of fired up after what has not been a great few months. And maybe it's the same thing that makes us old people pumped up to someday put this COVID thing behind us and get back to maybe that sales groove. Now, like students, it's important to realize that much of the success that will come from our own school year, which is the last end of this year, will be determined by how much homework we do. Homework. So while it's important to show up for class, certainly, and pay attention, we have to realize that it's equally important to show up fully prepared to succeed come test time. Now, what's test time? Well, for us, maybe it's that huge customer Zoom meeting, or maybe that live, yes, live, in-person lunch meeting with that high-level exec. Or maybe that's getting better at cold calling. Now, what I'm going to give you right now is 5 things, and this is your fall semester class schedule. So pay attention to your sales counselor. Class number 1, LinkedIn class. Now, for you salespeople who jumped all in on LinkedIn months, maybe even years before the virus kicked in, you quickly learned that you had a head start on those who didn't. And that's because you already invested the time in connecting with all these people, maybe in your industry, and maybe some rock stars outside. You realized you had a real asset. And because you already developed that network, you quickly found out it became way easier for you to search and find all sorts of decision makers that you never even met before, but you needed to. Now, let me say this. LinkedIn is the single greatest tool to research existing prospects and to find new ones. So here's your homework for this class. Over the next 3 months, I want you to dedicate 15 minutes a day doing nothing but connecting with LinkedIn people, meaning prospects, people in your industry. It's an asset that will grow, and I'll tell you what, once you connect with one, it's a lot easier to connect with 10. So do it. Otherwise, you're getting an F in this class. All right, class number 2, cold prospecting class 101. So the question is, why do we sign up for LinkedIn? Well, the answer is so that we have high-value prospects to target. So let me be clear. There's absolutely no value in having a ton of great LinkedIn connections if you don't actually reach out to them. You build a relationship and see if there's a way for you to add value to them, and maybe them add value to you. So let's say you got that big-time decision maker to accept your connection on LinkedIn. Well, here's the key. First step is to not reach out and throw them some cheesy sales pitch. Now think about it. If you met somebody in a bar, you were introduced maybe to a new friend, and they immediately started pitching you on a product, you get out of that bar as quick as possible, right? No. Instead, just send a nice little note, thanks for connecting, and you wait a week, because we will hit them up with a prospecting call or an email. All right, next class, cold prospecting class 202. Now, when reaching out to your new connections via phone or email, you need to know exactly what you're going to say or write in that email that will create one emotion, and that emotion is curiosity. See, there's 3 things that create curiosity: value, pain, and or you do a name drop. You can use them alone or maybe a little combination. So let me give you an example. Let's say I work for a company who sold solutions to maybe a hospice organization. I call the place. "Hey, Sue, I wonder if you could help me." It brings the walls down. Something simple like this. Hey, the reason for my call is that we work with hospice organizations like Kindred Healthcare and others, and what we do is we help them find ways to better care for their home patients during and after this COVID-19 crisis. And then you stop. Now, the goal of this statement isn't to tell them all about my solution. It's merely to make them curious to want to learn more. Now, if the person on the other end of the phone is not a decision maker, he will often pass you off to somebody who may actually give a damn about what you're selling. When that person comes on the line, guess what you're going to do? You're going to deliver the same value name drop pitch. So here's your homework assignment. I want you to get with your manager at your company, or maybe just some of your peers on your team, And I want you to develop value, pain, or name drop pitches that you can use when reaching out to customers. Now, will they work? No, not all the time. But too many salespeople in our industry have no idea what is about to come out of their mouth when they pick up the phone. If you sound unprepared or mildly goofy, I'm hanging up on you. All right, next class, vendor class. Holy cow, you know a bunch of people in your industry. Now, whether you're in maybe distribution or maybe manufacturing, your homework assignment starting this school season is to suck as much knowledge as possible out of the brains of industry vendors. What do I mean? Well, company A rep, who calls on the same client as maybe company B rep, non-competing products, of course. These folks can tell you a ton about the best approach to hitting up a prospect. Point is share knowledge. You're all living the same life. And so those that have great friendships within their own industry, outside of their company, holy cow, they tend to learn a lot more and get to a lot more decision makers. All right, last class, virtual presenting class. All right, I know this. Zoom, MS Teams, GoToMeeting, they're no longer new to you. I get it. Now, I want to put your mind at ease as it relates to virtual selling, because it's a huge topic. While the vehicle to delivering your presentation may be different, you know what? It shouldn't be that different. In short, if you show enthusiasm about your solution when you're meeting live, it should be just as easy when your computer camera's on. If you ask great questions when you're live, you should also ask great questions virtually. If you don't normally use a lot of PowerPoint slides when presenting live, don't use them just because you have a Zoom application up. In short, just be you, but be the best virtual version of you. So practice presenting virtually, and you're going to realize that there really isn't that big a difference. Technology just means you don't have to jump on as many planes or maybe sit in traffic nearly as long. So the reality is nobody knows if our kids' schools are going to remain open or even if some are going to go back to school. And who knows if our company offices are ever going to let everybody back. But here's my take. So what? School is always open. Class is always in session. And now is the time to do all you can to make the final months of 2020 the time in your career when you did what was necessary to become an A student and the teacher's or CEO's pet. So, back to class, back to school, and we'll see you next week for your next Precise Selling video tip.